Ladies and gentlemen, from coast to coast and around the world, welcome to a special edition of the Prima-Donns show. Do we not always come through for you, the television viewers? Of course we do. Without any further ado, Mr. Bob Mould. Bob, welcome to the show.
Good evening.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us, Bob.
Good to be here.
And we're going to talk tonight about a subject that is near and dear to our three hearts, as I'm sure it is yours, and that is, of course, professional wrestling. Don, tell the folks about the special treat after we're done asking Bob the wrestling questions. We have a very special treat exclusively for you fans out there.
Right as rain as always, Don. Indeed, we have a very special treat. Bob's going to be performing some songs off his brand new CD, The Last Dog and Pony Show, for you Prima-Donns fans. But, you know, before we get into that, let's talk wrestling, Bob.
Sure.
Don, you got a question
I
for
do.
Bob?
We're kind of curious, Bob, you know, what is it about the fine sport of professional wrestling that drew you in when you were a kid watching it on TV and you had to be in front of that TV set every week?
Same thing that it is now. It's the stories. It's the stories. Back when I was a kid in the early '70s, I started watching professional wrestling. It was very much a good and evil situation, and I think as our society has changed, those lines get blurred. We look at our president, we look at Sable, we do these things, right? People, it's all different shades of gray now that we see on our professional wrestling shows. But when I was a kid, it was the stories, the athleticism, just watching somebody cut a good promo. That's the whole thing.
All right. Great. Bob, you mentioned those memories from your childhood. Could you share with us a memory, one of your favorite memories growing up?
When I was a kid, the wrestling that I grew up with was a promotion called Grand Prix Wrestling. It was sort of a hybrid promotion up in Montreal, run by a number of different people, the Vachons and the Rougeaus, Yvon Robert Sr. Got to see a lot of people. Got to see Jean Ferret, who became Andre the Giant in his early days. Saw him as a skinny kid, getting batted around by Don Leo Jonathan.
Oh, right.
Some classic matches. They used to bring Ed Farhat, the original Sheik, in quite a bit from Detroit. He had a manager, Eddie Creechman, the Jewish Star. It was quite an interesting combination, and those two would get together. A lot of good stuff back then. I remember the Leduc brothers. And then I guess when I came out here, when I came out to the Twin Cities in '78, say AWA country, Vern and Nick and all those guys, and Bobby Heenan, and so I also used to watch WWF stuff when I was a kid in the mid '70s because I had cable.
Bruno Sammartino, a big
see Bruno's days, and Graham and all those guys. So yeah.
Right. Good.
Well, now taking all that into consideration, what would you say are your five favorite performers?
Well, what about the music stuff?
Oh yeah, well, we're gonna do that, and
don't worry, Bob. We got plenty of time to get to some songs. I'm sure
you can do. As a matter of fact, you can do the entire new album in its entirety if you'd like to. After we're done,
do a whole side if you want.
That. We'll get all the time in the world.
Sure.
And but I did have the question about your top 5 performers, your favorites. Taking everything into consideration.
In music, right?
No,
we're still talking wrestling. Yeah.
We got the music.
Thanks, Bob.
Questions
all right.
After.
Okay, let me just get refocused then. Okay,
sure.
For wrestling. Gosh, for somebody here in town, Nick Bockwinkel, one of the greatest performers of all time. In that classic, arrogant, intelligent heel mode. Use those $10 words on those 5 and dime fans. It was good stuff.
Yes.
Let's see. Again, Ed Farhat. The man sneeze and you bleed. Dusty, all those guys were Abby. Where would those guys be without the Sheik paving the way for them?
Very good.
Ric Flair again. Somebody totally dedicated to the business. People who know his history and the broken back, all the things. That takes a lot of guts to come back, and hopefully this business will treat him right in his final years. And then probably a couple younger guys who, Steve Austin, was a great talent in Dallas. He was a great talent when he was in Atlanta. They just, bad bookers at the time didn't know how to use him properly. It's no surprise he's on top in the whole business right now. And I guess the best performer that I think I've seen in the last 10 years would be Chris Benoit. Unfortunately, Chris is a little short in the interview department, but as far as a pure worker and stiff and believable and knowing how to bring the best out of an opponent, Benoit's Benoit's the best. You know, really reminds me of Dynamite Kid. You know, that junior heavyweight, real stiff, slappy worker. He's good.
All right.
Bob, we know you've spent some time in Japan. I'm talking wrestling again now. When you were in Japan, you had the opportunity to see some professional wrestling.
Yeah.
Could you compare for us the two different products you see in the U.S. and Japan?
Well, yeah, you know, United States, you know, the television drives the product, whereas in Japan, you know, the house shows are covered by weekly wrestling magazines, so their stories unfold in the arenas. It's not so geared towards television. The fans are a lot more respectful. I've seen a couple promotions over there. I've seen a few New Japan house shows, and it was during their peak, you know, 94, 95, and it's good stuff. You know, they work real hard at their house shows, and again, it's a matter of the fans being very respectful. Also was real fortunate to go to an All Japan Women's house show, and got to see, you know, Toyota in person, which was something I really want, you know, and Kyoko Inoue, and really fun show actually. That show, a friend and I got sort of wrapped up in the midgets match with they have the 3 midgets in that promotion. 2 of them came up and started doing a spot with us on the stage, and we were, being the good fans we were, we knew how to play along. It turned into this Rick Rude swivel spot. It was good stuff. It was good. It was good stuff. We knew,
Who had Rude's role?
We knew what to do. The person I was with, I was selling a chair shop.
Oh, okay, so. you were
occupied. Yeah, I was busy. But it was good. So they went back, they did their finish, and then a couple of the preliminary girls came out and thanked us profusely for knowing what to do. So it was all good.
Great.
All right. It's a very different product. It's respectful. It's stiffer, more athletic, more believable. It's not quite as much, not so much Punch and Judy. You know, it's a little more like a sport.
All right. Well, we got the hypothetical question for you, and this is also a wrestling question. You're going to start your own promotion. You got the checkbook out. Who that's in wrestling today, who are some of the wrestlers you're going to start your promotion with and build your promotion around?
Benoit would be the first because he's so underutilized in North America right now. God, you'd have to get a great foil for him. Some guys that could work that would be in that size. I guess I would put together almost like a Jarrett promotion without the joke. You know, like the 215 to 235 guys. I'd go with light guys with the Jerry Lynn, with Sean Waldman, guys like that. You know. The believable athletic workers. Probably a couple, you know, try to get guys who are 5'9", 5'10", because then when you get somebody that's 6'4", they look like they're 7 feet tall. Yeah. And then when you get somebody like Booker Huffman, you bring him in, and he looks amazing because he's destroying these guys. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of guys like Rey Mysterio Jr. that are real good right now. Get somebody like that. Probably try to find, you know, Raven, you know, great talker, you know. He'd be if he could get his stories focused. I think he could be one of the best talker, manager, that kind of guy. I guess somebody like Mike Tenay would have to sell the product. Yes. He'd be the key man. Mike is a friend of mine and real intelligent person on the sport. Knows a whole lot about this business. And I would have whoever's doing the book do color, because that was Bill Watt's secret for many years. There's only one guy that should be one guy that knows the story. It's the story writer.
And if you don't write the stories, you don't comment on the product. Yeah, makes perfect sense.
That'd be my dream promotion.
What's this, Bob? He's got a, but he was gonna. I'm sorry, Bob. Apparently you got a. Oh, gee. But he was gonna.
5 minutes about the length of a couple.
He's got to go now. He can't.
Hey.
But he was gonna. We said he was gonna. We promised.
Well, make sure you get the Last Dog and Pony show. It's an excellent record. Bob would have played many songs off that if he, in fact, were going to play here tonight. But well, what about, maybe we'll come back during the tour and maybe we can.
I don't know. I mean, they're out on tour for months. I mean, he's not scheduled back into Minneapolis.
Well, what about after it's over? You know, after it's over, Bob will come back and we'll get a rain check.
Well, no, he doesn't come back here anyway. He lives in Manhattan, Don. He's not coming back to the Prima.
Cut.